happy. So I sat down, all eager to hear. He said, I have had stomach problems for 20 years. I've had no pain for 3 days. I can't believe it. But what really cheered me was his next statement. He said, I've worked out my problem. I love it. So you're the doctor. He said, I was drinking a litre of water with every meal. And no water between meals. So between meals, the body was dehydrated. And the thick mucosa wall, here's your stomach, the thick mucosa that lines the stomach wall was not there, because that mucus is 99% water. So in dehydration, this mucus lining becomes very, very thin. And it's very easy for acid to burn holes in there. But your hydrochloric acid is an amazing acid, and we'll talk about that this afternoon. It is not only designed to help break your food down, but is designed to kill off any bacteria or fungus that might come in on the food that you eat. Have you ever eaten some bread one day and the next day it's mouldy? Do you know the day before it did have mould in it? You only see it when it gets to the state of actually reproducing its spore. So we've been given this strong acid to help kill that. So what's happening in his stomach is stomach walls breaking down. No wonder Helicobacter pylori is there. What's going to clean up the dead tissue? You see, there was garbage in his stomach, and it was dead tissue from the ulcer. But the Helicobacter, it wasn't worried about hydrochloric acid because it was continually being watered down. You see that? So all he did was he stopped drinking with his meals and he started to drink between his meals, and within 24 hours he had no stomach pain. Huh? Isn't that amazing? Aren't you glad it's that simple? Didn't God mean it to be that simple? He meant it to be within the reach of every one of us. Remember the statement I said earlier from page 127 of Ministry of Healing? Everyone should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them. What's an experimental knowledge? Do it on yourself. I always do it on myself first. We've been doing green drinks for very sick people at our health centre, and I'm in my garden weeding, and I see weeds. Now, there's a weed I don't know, so I put it in my mouth and I have a little chew. Bitter! No, we won't put that in the green drink. I experiment on myself, and when I make the green drinks, I drink them. If I live, I can give it to my guests. But I only put greens in, I know, but there's one weed I'm not familiar with, but oh, my mouth was burning for the next half hour, then we won't put that in the green drink. But down by our creek, you call them creeks? We have a lot of smartweed growing. And that would burn your mouth out. That's really, really hard, but you can use it in poulticing. So a good person to experiment with is yourself. But you know that more people die in Australia and America from drugs. It's something like, I think it's the third killer. Number one in some places. And this isn't just wrongly prescribed drugs. These are accurately prescribed drugs. And we don't hear about that, do we? So can you see how simple the principles can be? And you see why we should be our own doctors. I did a consultation on a lady not long ago, and when we'd finished, she said, what about supplements? I think she expected me to give her a list. She was so happy. She said, we're not on health cover. And she said, the last naturopath, I've got a string of supplements. I said, tell me your supplements. And she listed them to me, and I said, well, you've doubled up there. You don't need that. Your water will do that. And it's like there's a very strong supplement, which is hundreds of dollars, called Endol. And Endol is an enzyme that's found in licorice root. It's found in the cabbage family. And also the B vitamins will do it. And one lady who rang me up, I said, all you need to do is have something from the cabbage family every day. Have perhaps 2 cups of licorice tea a day. And take a B vitamin supplement. She said, is that it? I said, yes, it is. God meant it to be within our reach. One health retreat I know in Australia, the naturopaths have to sell $600 worth of supplements per guest. Ooh! Now, I think there's a time for some supplements, but supplements will not work if the person's not exercising and drinking 2, I think you call it quarts, we call it litres of water a day, you see? And when Emma was breastfeeding her twins, I think she drank 6 litres of water a day. And when my sons, who are builders working out in the hot Queensland sun, they might drink 5 litres of water a day or quarts. So there's a little bit of playing there. But plants won't live without water, hey? There are many people today who are drifting in the haze that lies between optimum health and severe illness. Am I right? I'm not interested in just existing. I want to live. And I want to live life to its fullest.
How much did you say daily?
Approximately 2 quarts,
2 quarts
of water a day. Yeah. If you're as big as me. So more, of course, more water. And if you're being physically active, it needs to be more. So let's have another look at this. The cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions changed, wrong habits corrected, and there's a third one. And the third one that she talks about, and do you know that if we only had this description, we would have enough? Well, it's not a description, it's a prescription. Number 4, she states, then nature is to be assisted. Nature is then to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities and re-establish right conditions back in the system. Because what is disease? It's an effort of nature to expel these things from the system. Have you heard of Florence Nightingale?
Yeah.
Very famous nurse. And the reason she's so famous is because in the early 1800s she was asked to go to Scutari, which was the port where the hospital was, where the wounded from the Crimean War were being taken. There were French soldiers and British soldiers fighting the Russians there. At the end, now when she was asked to go to the hospitals, she went into the hospital and the conditions were shocking. The men were still in their clothes. The sewage was spilling out into the wards in this hospital. So the men had to do it in buckets under the beds, and a lot of the time it was still there. They still had their clothes on. The doctors for surgery weren't washing their hands. They hated Florence. She made them wash their hands between operations. How did Florence know this? Do you know Florence had read the Bible? Have you read the health laws that the children of Israel had to adhere to when they were in the desert? If humanity had kept reading the Bible, the Black Plague would never have happened. The conditions at Scutari would never have happened. And her biggest battle in this ward was the head doctors. They hated her. And they said, you're not coming into this hospital because it's men's business. So they sent her to the kitchen. Meanwhile, she's telegrammed her wealthy father to send a shipload of bandages, clean linen, lots of soap, lots of scrubbing brushes. And another shipload of another 2,000 wounded came in. And so the doctor said, you can come in, we need help. And Florence and her nurses, what was the first thing they did? They just began to scrub. At the end of this time, it was estimated that 3,000 British soldiers had died on the battlefront. 20,000 had died from wounds or sickness. 20,000 compared to the 3,000 on the battlefront. I think it was only after 2 months of being there, the death rate went from about 40%, 50% down to about 2%. Was it antibiotics? No. Was it medicines? No. What Florence had done, and when